So we were browsing Twitter as usual one day when we came across an ad that really caught our eye. It's nothing special, just a small publishing company showing off a game that they were publishing. And oh dear. Needless to say, most of the comments were basically just clowning on the game. Haha, this looks gay and stupid. HR diversity pamphlet, the game. 14-year-old DeviantArt user art style. Look how they massacred Harold. These look like the pedestrians you'd run over in an open world game. Newgrounds Flash animations from 20 years ago looked better. It looks like hashtag Arios. Amusingly, Yick was mentioned a few times. So the initial reaction from audiences weren't very favorable. But we here at Jedivision, well, there was just something, you know? So we checked out the Steam page to see what this game was all about. The trailer for the demo is something. Mainly because the voice acting is drowned out by the background music.
Doesn't seem that weird to me. Maybe I'm just a homebody.
Yeah, there must be something real dangerous down there. Or at least something spooky. Like there was someone chained up down there.
They look like needles?
Not just needles. Golden needles.
I don't want to be mean, but a trailer's supposed to make your game look good. You're literally trying to present your game in the most ideal way possible. If you can't even do that with the bare minimum of competence, what does that imply about your final product? There is a demo, we won't dig too deep into it since something tells me we'll be making a review on it down the line. After playing a bit of it ourselves, gameplay-wise, it's not bad. It's a pretty standard, typical RPG. The combat is pretty straightforward for the genre. What seems to be the gimmick is that characters can partner up with one other party member to execute an attack that's exclusive to that duo, which creates all these wacky little combinations. I'm sure it's interesting, especially if there's some sort of affinity building mechanic or something, so there's that. Now, if there's one thing you could say about that Twitter advertisement, it's that it gives you a pretty good idea of the game's graphics. And we'll say this, the graphics are... I don't know, man. Sometimes the game honestly doesn't look bad. When the environments are done right, you can appreciate its interesting presentation. It has that kind of PlayStation 1 Paper Mario thing going on. I'd even go as far as to say that the initially shoddy character art kind of works here in this environment. If nothing else, we always love to see interesting combinations of 2D sprites in 3D environments. But other times, you have these flat colors, this lack of depth or texture that make it very unpleasant to look at. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Honestly, at the very least, if you're gonna shell out for Twitter advertising, you could at least drop a few bucks for a decent artist to jazz up your cover. Regardless of how good your game is, this is not a good first impression for anyone. So that's it, right? A somewhat promising game with a poorly executed ad campaign. I wish. For you see, the research team here at Jedivision did some digging into the developers. Tekao Studios. Because I don't know, when you see something like this, you can't help but wonder what else they've worked on. And what we found was pretty interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, Neverland. Now I'll say right now, unlike our other reviews where we try to be informational, we're making this video purely for the sole purpose of amusement. Because I think anyone would take one look at this game and tell that it's probably not worth taking too seriously. So we're gonna play through this entire game and give our thoughts as we go along. But before we do so, let's just address an elephant in the room here. Remember the game we looked at earlier and how scuffed the artwork was? It's gonna be 10 times worse here. The art's bad. I mean, just look at it. What do I really say? It's rocking that weird DeviantArt aesthetic, you know, the type of artwork you see when you have those weird kids who are obsessed with their silly little cartoon shows and they boot up that weird in-house drawing program DeviantArt has and they go wild with it. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you'd see there. You've got some real MyOC do not steal energy going on here. You can tell you're gonna be in for a good time when the game boots up in windowed mode and there's no way to go full screen. Alright, we're on the title, and boy, it really hypes you up for the game, doesn't it? You know, you got the gradient and the two characters that are kind of just slapped on there, and get an earful of this music. It sounds like something you'd make when you first pirate FL Studio and you have no idea what you're doing, so you just slap down a bunch of random chords over a beat until you have something that vaguely sounds like a song. Neverland is a top-down, narrative-driven game. The maps are extremely linear, there's no nooks or crannies to explore, and there's no dialogue choices or branching storylines. Really, we're just along for the ride, I suppose. It's also free. That's right, you can play it right now if you really wanted to. So we wake up in this room and we're this bunny girl child named Amber, and we wake up near this weird puppet guy. Right off the bat, the music is about as loud as the character speaking.
Wait,
Alright, let's get this turned down and have ourselves a listen to some quality voice acting. Anyways, this puppet guy explains to us that we're inside a place called Neverland, a shared dream world people go to when they're sleeping.
You're at a place called Neverland now. Think of it like a shared dream. Everyone here is asleep, and they're all dreaming about this magic place together.
So if we're all in the same dream together, does that mean we're in the same consciousness? Does that make us like a hive mind or something?
However, you can only leave once you address and deal with your own personal problems, you see? Everyone who comes out here has something going on in their head that they need to work out. Maybe it's a lost friend, or a tragic past event, or any number of different things. Once you figure out what's holding you back, you can get on out of Neverland and go back to your original, normal life.
Well, that's a little on the nose. You know, in any other pretentious, narrative-driven indie game, that would be the twist, or the great big reveal. Who would have thought that all we had to do to escape the symbolic pit of depression is own up to the things in our life holding us back? So, what do you guys think your problems are? Well, ever since my best friend died, I took up alcohol to cope. Even after the war, I could never adapt to civilian life. You just don't come back from something like that. Well, I don't know what my problem could be. Ugh, something tells me you're gonna be down here for a while. They really come out of the gate with this one. Call it subversive, I guess. He then explains how appearances work.
In Neverland, people's own opinions of themselves are shown to everyone else through their physical appearance. Say someone thought they were the most beautiful person in the whole wide world. In Neverland, they'd look super duper beautiful.
Wow, that sounds amazing!
It sure sounds amazing, but that means that the beautiful person probably isn't that beautiful in real life, and they're actually a jerk about being more beautiful than they really are.
I feel like this is a really weird and specific rule to have. Your appearance is correlated to how you think of yourself. What's the purpose of that exactly? By the way, I just want to point out, we haven't even left this house. We've taken not one step into the wider world yet in the first 2 minutes of the game, and we already know the world we're in, how it works, what we have to do to get out, and how people get their physical appearances of all things. All delivered through extensive dialogue instead of just letting the player explore the world and learn about it themselves. I mean, come on guys, how am I supposed to uncover the detailed world and rich lore of Neverland if it's only ever hammered out through constant exposition? Anyways, he tells us to go find a man named Quinn, and we finally get to venture out into Neverland. We find ourselves in a town plaza, and we meet people like an alien with a nuclear bomb embedded into their skull, a rug with sunglasses, some My Little Pony guy, and this robot. What a beautiful sound. We've got no time for that. We've got to find Quinn. We find someone who looks normal, finally, and he tells us that this Quinn guy has a hideout in the forest.
Quinn is a hideout in the woods to the north of here. If you poke around enough, you should be able to find it pretty easily.
So that's where we'll go next. So we're in the forest now, we're just walking around and... Okay, so the game breaks itself up with these puzzle segments, these encounters that make you do these mini-games to progress. Most of them really aren't that hard. There's this one where you've got to put these puzzle pieces in the right spots. There's this Tetris mini-game where you've got to keep the blocks from stacking too high. This one makes you remember a pattern, and you've got this really lovely piercing bell sound as you do so. Now that is music to my ears. My favorite's this one where you've got to count up these sheep, except they move like they're on a mixture of jet fuel, crack, cocaine, and meth. Failing these games doesn't actually do anything, it just sends you back to the beginning of the level, but you don't have to replay the games you've beaten to that point, which is nice. What is jarring is how there's no context to any of these encounters. The triggers are invisible, and there's no dialogue or anything when it pops up, so it feels very out of place. After doing a bunch of these challenges, we eventually meet up with this guy. I don't know what the hell he's supposed to be.
Let's take this one step at a time, yes? People know me as Candyman.
Explains the macaroon on his head.
I travel around Neverland, performing for the locals.
Oh, so that's what the stage was for.
You're coming from Corcone. Interesting. Well, considering the information I have about you, I'm afraid I can't let you go any further.
I just want to point out that this guy is talking to a child in an isolated, forested area. I don't like where this is going. He doesn't like that we're trying to meet up with Quinn, so he shoots us an offer.
How about this? Instead of continuing your search for Quinn's little treehouse, I'll give you a special VIP preview of my show.
on the house.
Whoa there, P. Diddy. Save some kids for the rest of us. I think the last thing a child would want to be is a very important person at a preview of your show.
Sorry, but I don't think I have time for something like that right now.
Oh, that's laughable. You act as if you have a choice in the matter.
Ugh, there's no way this guy isn't the proud owner of a white van. We get saved by this guy, the guy from before. What is that, a butter knife? What are you gonna fight with that? An evil loaf of Texas Pullman? Apparently, this guy is Quinn. He just didn't tell us because people in Corcoran don't like him to the point where he can't even share his name.
Yeah, I know I told you to look for him, but I'm Quinn. This is my little hideout in the woods right here. I didn't know if you noticed, but the guys in Corcoran don't exactly like me very much. I've become used to not sharing my name around with people I don't know.
Which is funny because he was literally just inside that city in plain sight, and he's literally the only human-looking guy there. You stick out like a sore thumb, but I guess it's all good because no one knows your name. For God's sake, there's wanted posters of the guy.
There's something that I want you to see. Did Pepper talk to you about personal problems and stuff like that?
Yeah, but I have no idea what mine would be.
Well, the best way to figure out what that is involves a little bit of self-reflection. Some people know what their issues are, but sometimes it's hard to face them head on.
As if this game can't get any more on the nose. Wow, you mean in order to figure out our personal problems, we have to reflect on ourselves? But if you thought that was heavy-handed, get a load of this.
Just know that Candyman isn't someone to talk to very lightly. He's sort of the villain of the story, if you get what I mean.
This game is literally telling us who the villain of the story is. Yeah, I kind of got that part down when he tried to abduct a child in the woods, but thanks for clarifying. After that exchange, we find ourselves in a desert. This is something that happens quite a bit. You'll just change scenery all of a sudden. There's no frame of reference for where you are in the world, and it just makes the whole thing feel very disconnected. There's nothing actually in the desert other than some more random encounters. Every now and then, Quinn appears ahead of us to talk with us. I guess he's just teleporting somehow. Quinn tells us more about Candyman.
He's sort of this celebrity in Neverland. He's pretty divisive. Either you love him or you hate him. Candyman goes around convincing people not to leave Neverland, despite the whole point of Neverland being to improve yourself in order to leave. Instead of going back to his normal life, Candyman wants to take over this one by force and make this life his normal life.
For all this talk explaining what Candyman's doing, we never actually get to see it for ourselves. Why not show Candyman talking to the populace and using his influence to get people on his side? I mean, for God's sake, there was literally a whole stage set up in a town he was set to perform at. How am I supposed to get a complete grasp on these complex and multiple layered characters if you're not showing it to me? By the way, this is pretty much the gameplay loop. You're supposed to move to a specific spot, and on the way you have these random encounters and dialogue fleshing out the narrative. The gameplay is kind of weird because you can't really do anything. Aside from some throwaway lines from NPCs when you talk to them, you can't interact with anything or explore the world in any meaningful way. So this exploration section feels kind of pointless. I'm just saying, what's the point of gameplay if there's no gameplay in your gameplay? Oh yeah, just in case you didn't figure it out, the game reiterates that Candyman is in fact bad and that we are good.
Candyman's the bad guy, and we're the good guys. They want the info I have, but I won't give it to them without a fight.
I can't believe I'm actually playing a game that feels the need to directly inform the player who's good and who's bad. So we arrive at this Megatropolis place and it's entirely destroyed.
What happened to Megatropolis?
Is this Megatropolis? It looks like ruins.
Help! Help!
Then some lizard calls us over, crying out for help.
Haha, I've caught you.
Knew it. Told you this is a trap, Amber.
You're right, Quinn. This was all a setup.
How does she know your name?
But apparently it's a trap, and she wants us to hand over a book.
I know everything there is to know, kid. Now hand over the book.
The what?
You heard me. I know for a fact that one of you has the other book.
What are you yapping about? Why can't we just leave? In fact, why don't we just beat the piss out of her? There's two of us and one of her, plus this guy has a butter knife, so I'm feeling pretty good about our odds here. She says she'll take the book by force.
The other book?
Fine, be that way. If you won't give it up peacefully, I'll just have to take it by force.
By making us do a puzzle, I guess. I don't know how a puzzle would force us to do really anything, but whatever. We easily beat the challenge and find out it was all a misunderstanding. Candyman is apparently the one who destroyed Megatropolis, using one of the two books.
Spill it, Lizard. Are you working for Candyman?
Candyman? I have nothing to do with that idiot. He wrecked my city. Does it look like I'd be working for him?
Wait, Candyman destroyed Megatropolis? Where did Candyman get that kind of firepower?
He has the physical book. He's been tearing up Neverland for the past few days.
Wait, he is one of the books?
What are the 2 books? Well, I'll let the game explain it because I sure as hell can't.
Neverland was first created with the power of 2 books.
Okay, so hold on. These 2 books created Neverland, but these 2 books are also in Neverland. So, in order for the books to have created Neverland, Neverland would have had to have existed in the first place.
Each with the ability to manifest people's thoughts into the real world.
But what does that mean? That each has the ability to manifest people's thoughts into the real world. What does that mean? This is the sort of stuff I'd say when I'm desperately trying to hook up with the weird girl at a bar or something. Not that I have, it's purely hypothetical, but you know what I'm saying.
The first was called the physical manifestation of thought, which allowed for the creation of anything material. Think of the wishes a genie would grant for you. Money, places, possessions, anything without a conscience. The second book was called The Spiritual Manifestation of Thought, and it was effectively the opposite of the first book. You could want someone to fall in love, control someone's actions, or wish for someone's death, and this book would let you do it.
Okay, so the spiritual book lets you control people, and the physical book lets you change and create physical stuff within this realm. So if Candyman's stolen the physical book, the question I have is, are there any limitation to the book's power? Because it sure as hell is never outlined, so by default, I'm forced to believe that there are no limits. So this guy, who wants to take over Neverland, is in possession of a book that lets him quite literally create anything he wants. So the question is, why not just create an army of sex robots that can rapid-fire exploding dildo rockets from their crotch and use said army to enslave the entirety of Neverland? I mean, that's what I'd do. If he's looking for the spiritual book that's somewhere in the land, why not create a radar whose sole purpose is to accurately pinpoint the location of the spiritual book? Actually, now that I think about it, if you have a book that can create anything you want, just create the spiritual book! So we have to go and find the spiritual book now, because if Candyman finds it first and takes over Neverland, we won't be able to leave. So it's off to the streets of Megatropolis. There's nothing of interest in this city, just some more random encounters. There's this mini-game where you have to find differences between these 2 pictures, but you can just click everywhere with no penalty.
Hey, Quinn.
Yeah? Something up?
I'm hungry.
You're hungry? Well, I guess that makes sense.
No, it doesn't! We're on an entirely different plane of consciousness right now. How the hell do you get hungry inside of a dream?
But I don't know where you're gonna get food in a city that's been destroyed like this.
I can see a gas station up ahead. They always have hot dogs and stuff like that.
So we make it to this gas station, and apparently there's a fight going on. We get confronted by this. Honestly, I don't know what this thing is. It's got a rat, though.
It's a bit too late to back out now. Twilight and I have a bone to pick with the world, and we're taking our anger out on you. Isn't that right, Twilight?
This thing apparently wants to fight us, which... Hold on, we're actually gonna fight? Like, come to blows? Like, you know, punching and kicking and stuff? Oh, nope, it's just another puzzle. So I guess puzzles is how people fight? So wait, does that mean every time we've had to do a puzzle for a random encounter, it was just some guy jumping us? Man, after we get out of Neverland, I ought to take a vacation in Sao Paulo. It's obviously gonna be a lot safer there. We easily beat the minigame and earned this little freak's respect.
Dang, you really are tough. I'm Jakey. Welcome to the Brawl Station, oh great yellow warrior.
It joins us on our quest.
Well, we're on a quest to get a spirit book from a hidden, heavily protected location that Quinn won't tell me about in order to stop Candyman from taking over Neverland.
You shouldn't give up that info so easily, Amber.
So you're on an epic fetch quest to save the world. Sounds cool. Count me in.
And suggests we go to the circus.
I know a place where all the best talent can be found. Strong warriors and sneaky thieves alike.
We're just trying to find this world's equivalent of a death note before the wrong person gets a hold of it, but sure, let's go to the circus. So we leave, and suddenly we're on the beach. We're gonna have to use this boat to get across the lake, and oh my god, who the hell is this guy? So this guy's name is Prickles. He's a cactus who doesn't have any legs or arms.
You can't move on your own, right?
Correct. I don't have legs, wheels, or even real hands.
Which is kind of brutal if you think about it. Bro is a prisoner in his own body, kind of like that tree from Fallout. Neverland must be this guy's personal hell. You have to wonder though, if people can be brought into this world as immobile plants, something like this surely would have had to have happened at some point. 1 second guys, gotta take a whiz behind this tree here. Whoa, whoa, I'm alive, pal. Go find a different tree to piss on. Well, let's be real here. What are you gonna do to stop me? So we somehow get some more random encounters, even though we're in the middle of a lake, and make it to land. So now we're at the circus, and all of a sudden, the game switches focus. I guess we just left the cactus guy behind or something.
Quinn and the yellow rabbit girl have entered the circus, along with what looks like a weird goblin boy. No, I don't know who the goblin is. No, I don't know why they are here at the circus. I didn't hear anything about that either.
Apparently, he's in contact with someone, and by the way he's talking, it sure doesn't sound good.
Understood, I'll be waiting at the entrance.
I thought you couldn't move. So we meet King Tater, an overly verbose flying tater tot.
It is a pleasure to meet you both. I am King Tater, monarch of the circus and a benevolent ruler of the masses.
And his subordinate, Winona.
Hello, Amber and Quinn.
Once again, I have no idea what this thing is. And they agreed to join us on our quest. They yap for a bit, and suddenly the circus is on fire.
Does anyone else hear that concerning flickering sound?
Yeah, I hear it too. It sounds like...
Fire! Everyone, get out as fast as you can.
A masterclass of voice acting really sells the urgency in this scene.
Fire! Everyone, get out as fast as you can.
Wow, I wonder who could have caused this. Surely it's not the cactus guy that was randomly panned to not 2 minutes ago so we could listen to his conversation where he's plotting against the main cast of characters with a mysterious figure. And the music is very fitting. You know, we've gotta escape from this burning circus. Obviously, I want the music to sound like a haunted house. We make it out, and waiting for us is Candyman. Apparently, the cactus guy was working with him. What a twist!
You wouldn't believe it. Candyman said if I ratted you guys out, he would give me a way to move freely on my own. Check it out.
Didn't see that one coming. The betrayal of someone you met 5 minutes ago really cuts deep.
We trusted you, Prickles. How could you?
You didn't trust me with anything. I didn't trust you with anything either. I just took a free ride on your dinky little bum.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. We never technically trusted each other, so trying to burn us alive is fair game. Touche, little cactus man. Touche.
Regardless, I'm glad you all made it out safely. Quinn, why did you and the bunny girl make the trip to the circus in the first place?
I won't tell you anything, and you guys better not say anything either.
Well, if the party refuses to talk, I can just eradicate them where they stand. Prickles, destroy the bunny girl first.
This guy has a book that presumably lets him create and materialize anything he wants. He could kill everyone right here, right now, and the only thing limiting him is his own imagination. You can reenact Chernobyl, do some Unit 731 stuff, take a page out of the Outlast trials, but no, get the barely mobile cactus to challenge someone to a puzzle. Excellent plan, dude. Excellent plan. So we gotta find the difference between these two pictures. I like how there's a difference in color between the knives, but the game won't mark it. Whatever.
They got away.
Don't worry about your wheels, Prickles. I just needed you to hold Amber here for a few seconds.
Why? Did you want to take pictures?
Now I know exactly where they are going.
How? As far as I know, the physical book won't tell you where someone is.
While you are correct to some extent, I thought of a handy solution to that particular issue. They are going somewhere, but I don't know where just yet.
You have a book that lets you manifest anything into existence, and your best idea is putting a tracking device on someone? So now we're here, the guys from the circus tagged along, I guess. We're conveniently in front of the mountain where the book supposedly is.
We're climbing a mountain now? That sounds like a lot of work. Can't you just tell us where to look, Quinn? Amber said that you know where it is.
I told you, it's here at a mountain somewhere. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about here.
Whatever you say, Mr. Bossy Pants.
We literally just got here, and already these guys we just met are starting to turn on us.
King Tater, can't you just fly up and search for the book that way? It'd be a lot faster.
That would be a much easier solution, yes. Sadly, I do not know what I am looking for exactly.
I would prefer if you stuck with the group, King Tater. It'd be easier to keep track of everyone.
Can't you just tell him what this hidden, protected location looks like so he can fly up and look?
I met this floating king guy 5 minutes ago. I can't trust him with that kind of valuable information.
And I don't want to dignify this conversation, but like, we're looking for a book that can literally kill people. I feel like it's totally plausible that we wouldn't just trust some schizophrenic flying potato who thinks he's a king with that sort of power, especially when we literally just got played by a cactus.
I met this floating king guy 5 minutes ago. I can't trust him with that kind of valuable information.
I could say the same thing about you, Quinn.
No, you can't! You joined us! You, of your own volition, made the decision to join a group of people that you didn't even know. Actually, not only did you choose to join us, you invited yourself into our group. That's on you! You don't get to turn that on us, you disgusting, dishonest, foul creature.
I want to go home.
I'm sorry about what happened to the circus, Winona. I only got to see it for a little bit, but it seemed like you guys were really happy there.
We were, yeah. I'm just really sad that it's gone.
Hey, what the hell happened to this guy's microphone quality?
Focus on the future, not the past. We've got a very important mission ahead of us, and we need to move quickly in order to stop Candyman.
Okay, so I don't actually want to engage with this game as if I actually care about anything going on in it, but I see what's happening here. What the game's trying to do here is change our perception of Quinn. Oh my god, this character who we thought was 100% good and kind-hearted is being callous towards someone who's grieving. The problem is, this is actually a pretty good point. If you wanna join us on our quest, that's fine, but if you're gonna slow us down by being emotional, you'd be dragging us down, would you not? Oh, but it looks like the mentally deficient potato has something to say about that.
Try not to be insensitive, Quinn. While I understand your current point of view to an extent, this is not a quest purely taken for vengeance. Our careers and our community were both ripped from our lives without so much as a warning.
Okay, so this is a really weird conversation. You're talking about, oh my god, our careers and community, but the point of Neverland isn't to build a career and community. It is a temporary dimension for you to reside in so you can figure out your personal problems, so you can eventually leave. Complain about us being insensitive, but at the end of the day, you're the one misinterpreting the infallible will of Neverland.
And you expect us to follow you in your misguided journey for retribution?
No. I mean, there's no reason for you people to be here. Literally, the only reason we recruited you two is because this complete Randy wanted us to. And the only reason he's even here is because he forced himself in. I don't know what point you think you're making, but you're not doing a very good job of making it.
You need a serious reality check, dude.
You need a serious reality check, dude. So basically, everyone sucks here. This guy's too obsessed with revenge, this thing is a snarky, condescending loser, and these two are honestly just annoying. Yeah, it sure would be a shame if all this tension reached a breaking point and we all split off from each other. I would be so sad. And sure enough, it does.
How much longer do we have?
Not much longer. The book's current hiding spot should be close to here.
Can't you just tell us where it is already?
I've already explained why I can't do that, kid.
Well, your explanation didn't make any sense. If you had just told Container at the start, I bet we would have found it by now.
I have to agree with Jakey. Since I possess the unrestricted ability of flight, I could have likely found what you were looking for some time ago.
I think the funniest part about this section of the game is that, unironically, it insists upon itself. You can really tell that it thinks it's building all this tension with these characters with equally compelling viewpoints that clash with each other, and we're really feeling the tension. But we're not, because it's not written very well. And I honestly don't care.
It's somewhere in this mountain, right? I don't think we need Quinn's secret info in order to save Neverland. We can go on without him.
Hey, wait! We can work this out!
Okay, let's work it out then. Either these three follow my lead up the mountain, or they don't find the book. It's a simple choice.
Even if you're right, Quinn, that's a mean way to put it.
Yeah, that's a very compelling viewpoint there, Amber.
Mean? Amber, we don't have time to argue about this. Candyman is probably halfway to the book already, and if he gets it, he gets whatever he wants, remember?
This isn't all about Candyman. I thought this was about saving Neverland.
I never said it wasn't about saving Neverland, Amber. It's just that defeating Candyman is how we save Neverland, and following my lead is how we defeat Candyman.
I just want to point out that this guy made a completely reasonable and logical point. I mean, you've got this guy trying to take over Neverland and prevent everyone from leaving. Ergo, in order to save Neverland and ensure people are able to leave, we have to defeat Candyman. So, how does Amber respond to this completely reasonable viewpoint?
It really feels like either we do what you tell us to do, or we can just leave.
By completely changing the subject.
This whole time, I've just been following you around like some kind of lost puppy. You aren't the only person trying to save Neverland, Quinn.
That is a red herring and a logical fallacy. I know these debate tactics. I watch Destiny. And I'm sorry, but this whole speech is so funny. You can tell this is supposed to be the boiling point. You've got this character that's all riled up, giving this fiery, passionate declamation, and I just don't care, man. I truly, honestly don't.
Frankly, I don't need a bunch of people following me if they're not going to be of any help. I'm out of here.
So the group splits up and we're left to search for the book with this thing.
So if Quinn roped you into this whole book search adventure, can I ask you why you're still going? What's in it for you?
What's in it for us? Well, we're trying to leave Neverland and there is a guy who's trying to stop us from doing that.
I don't really know. I guess I just want to do it. Not really because Quinn told me to, but just because I want to help all the cool people I've met in Neverland.
But no, all the cool people in Neverland, like the guy who tried to abduct us in the middle of the woods, that lizard who tried to jump us in the city, and that cactus who committed arson to smoke us out in exchange for wheels. Those are the people we're fighting for. We eventually learned that Amber's problem is that she just does what other people tell her.
This might be a bit out of the blue, but have you figured out your personal Neverland problem yet? I've been thinking about mine a lot since joining you.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it too, honestly, and I think I figured it out. This whole time, I've sort of just been following Quinn around and doing whatever he's doing. Don't get me wrong, I want to find the spiritual book, but I was really only doing it because somebody told me to. Well, I definitely enjoyed that time. It was nice to finally make my own choice and do what I wanted to do without being asked to do it.
So, based on this conversation, it's safe to assume that Amber's problem, which sent her to Neverland, is that she isn't capable of doing things on her own. So I guess the magical forces that be decided to banish her to this dream world because she's not independent enough. And it's like, duh? She's a child? Like, what are we doing here, man? So we come across this derelict cottage where the book apparently is. Oh, and it's the puppet guy from earlier.
I don't want to have to take it from you. Just let me have it so I can walk away and do what needs to be done.
I'm disappointed in you, Quinn. Not only do you have the nerve to demand the book from me, but you've shown up alone.
This puppet guy had the spiritual book. Why not use the book to kill Candyman? Or make him into a good person, if that's something the book can do or whatever. I feel like we could have solved this problem a long time ago.
I sent you with Amber in the hopes that you would both improve each other. That is the entire objective of Neverland.
Great idea, man. Let's get two people with crippling life problems to support each other. That's totally gonna work, man. I mean, just look at your average relationship nowadays. I'm sure this child's gonna be able to help someone figure out their personal problems.
Who cares what Neverland's objective is? If Neverland wants to keep having an objective at all, then it has to be saved now.
Stop it already!
And again, the guy's spitting facts. You really gotta love how this game knows the puppet guy has no meaningful rebuttal to this, so they just interrupt the conversation. And then Candyman starts to speak. He must have tracked us down.
Knock knock. Are the little red-haired boy and his pet rabbit home?
Why are you referring to her as a pet? That's so creepy, dude. Okay, what exactly is happening? Why is he talking like he's some sort of omnipresent force? If he's so godlike, why did he need to put a tracking device in our shoes to track us down?
You three, the spiritual manifestation of thought is in the basement of this cottage. Go now. And Quinn, don't try anything stupid, you hear?
I like how protective this guy is of the book, but he's immediately willing to give it up as soon as something crazy starts to happen. How dare you demand this book from me? Anyways, you can have it, it's in the basement.
You should grab it, Amber.
Behold, one of the most powerful objects in this realm. Let's get a kid to harness its infinite power and potential. We get the book and Candyman begins to yap, yap, yap.
Congratulations.
You've obtained the spiritual manifestation of thought, and all of the incredible powers that follow.
Blah, blah, blah. And we get transported to this weird dimension. Then we're back in the Puppet Man's house, and he explains that Candyman is basically God now.
Candyman is unleashing the full potential of the physical manifestation of thought. He's transformed himself beyond recognition, and Neverland is in disarray. Familiar locations and memories are now drifting around without direction. Admittedly, it's a very dire situation.
If he could have made himself God all along, why didn't he just do it? Isn't his goal to take over Neverland? I feel like becoming its God is a pretty pivotal step to achieving that. And then the puppet guy goes on about how Amber changed his viewpoint on life and helped him with his problems.
I'm proud of you for getting the spiritual manifestation of thought. It took a lot of courage.
I mean, it wasn't that hard. We literally just grabbed the book.
Thank you. You taught me a lot about Neverland, so thank you for helping me when I needed it.
You're welcome, kid. You taught me some valuable lessons too, you know.
What? No, we didn't. When did we ever do that?
You showed me that it's important to take an active role in your own destiny. To go out and make what you want to happen, happen.
Like you're just saying things. You're just creating a mishmash of words that bears no relevance to anything going on.
I settled into my role here in Neverland very well. So much so that I eventually gave up on leaving entirely. I've been here for a very long time, kid. Frankly, I'm tired. I wanted to go home for a while now, but I didn't have the courage. Thank you for giving me the strength to try again, Amber.
It's like I said at the beginning, right? You're just brute forcing this information to the player. We never knew this character's problems. We never got to see him overcome it, so we're just sitting here listening to him yap about this supposed revelation he had off screen. If the bar for figuring out your issues is so low that a child you barely even know or talk to is enough to give you everything you need to figure everything out, I feel like you should have gotten out of here a lot sooner.
That being said, please don't use your newfound spiritual powers. That kind of power can corrupt people. Only rely on it if you have to.
Now, I don't know about you, but you have this downright evil dude who's all of a sudden become a god of this stupid realm we found ourselves in. I think that's a pretty justifiable reason to use the book, but whatever.
Please gather all of your friends together in one place. The cottage on the mountain should work. There's only one way to defeat someone who has everything. You defeat them with everyone.
So we pick up our friends, we get that lizard person, those circus guys, we get the cactus too.
Can I just say that I'm sorry about what happened earlier? It wasn't right to rat you out like that.
I'm sorry, I almost got you killed when the circus caught fire. My bad.
I hope we can still be friends, even after all that drama, Llama.
You almost murdered us purely out of self-interest, but that's just drama.
I'm trying to get everyone together at the top of the mountain over there. We can finally save Neverland from Candyman.
Sounds awesome! I hope you don't mind if I give Candyman a piece of my mind for trying to manipulate me.
How were you manipulated? You made a deal to work with the bad guy in exchange for getting wheels. And then you got wheels. It would be one thing if this guy regretted it, but he's just straight up denying his involvement. What a little snake.
What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude.
So we pick up this little freak and Quinn, who make up or whatever, and we all rally for the final showdown.
Everyone is a teacher, and everyone is a student. Still, there's only one person left who needs to learn. It's time to teach the final lesson of Neverland.
Oh, yo, it's happening, bro! It's happening!
Like what you see, Amber? This fight was inevitable, and it's somewhat admirable that you're charging headlong into impossible odds.
Alright, I've got a review to make. Can you please hurry it up?
My world is nothing without my people. Join me now and I'll let you live in the brand new Candyland. Or, if you prefer, you could spend the rest of your days in the starry darkness that you currently find yourselves in, never to return to your old lives. It's a simple choice if you ask me.
You're right about it being a simple choice. We're gonna stop your takeover of Neverland here and now.
I thought you would say something corny like that. Fine. If you want to resist my vision, then I'll just have to make you see it myself.
And I don't know about you guys, but I'm so hyped. This is gonna be the most amazing showdown of all time. We're gonna beat this guy with the puzzles. I think my favorite thing about these mini games is that they're literally the same puzzles from earlier in the game. Like this maze, it's the exact same one from the gas station. These pipes are in the same exact position from earlier. They're all literally just copy and pasted. I also really like how the music resets after each puzzle.
Your reign of terror ends here, Candyman.
Which kind of drives a nail into what would otherwise be a truly legendary gaming moment. That being said, the dialogue is truly epic.
The monarch of the circus will not succumb. I burned your circus and I'll do the same to you, idiot.
Not only does he threaten to kill this guy, but he calls him an idiot. Talk about getting completely owned.
Go get him, Twilight.
I'll smash your rat into tiny gray pieces.
I mean, he literally just said he's gonna kill his rat. That's brutal. We beat him, and you already know they're gonna do some Steven Universe crap where they rehabilitate him or whatever.
So I can't make this life my own after all. Curse you. All of you.
Why is he yellow now? Was he doing blackface before?
What do you expect me to do now, huh? Just hand over the physical book? Give up on everything?
Not exactly.
Okay, but that literally is exactly what we want him to do.
Have you learned anything from this experience?
Have I learned anything? What kind of stupid question is that?
That is actually true. That is a pretty stupid question. Asking this guy what he's learned would be like the Romanian tribunal asking Ceausescu what he's learned. There comes a point where it really doesn't matter.
If I'm being honest, I can't say that I've learned much here. I just tried to take over an entire universe. Does it look like I've become a better person to you?
Why is the villain making more sense than the main character? Can we just put this guy in front of a firing squad or something?
That's true, but you stopped trying to take over an entire universe, and now we're actually having a peaceful conversation. That has to count for something, right?
Well, the only reason he stopped is because we forced him to. He didn't voluntarily surrender because he saw the error of his ways. He kept on fighting to the bitter end, until he was defeated. If we had lost, he would have annihilated us. Little girl, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess so. Tell you what, Amber, we could put these stupid books back, get back to our real lives, and forget this whole thing ever happened at all.
So over the course of the story, this guy has presumably used his celebrity status to build a cult of personality, attempted to kidnap a child, destroyed a city, committed arson by proxy, and ascended into godhood, all for his selfish desires of keeping everyone trapped in this dimension where he would rule. But I guess these ambitions, which he's undoubtedly devoted his entire Neverland life to, are just whisked away because of this eye-opening conversation he had with a child. Great character arc.
Take away the forgetting part, then sure. I don't think I'll forget this adventure for a long time.
Thanks, Amber. Before we go, you should say goodbye to your friends. I doubt you'll be seeing them when you get out of here.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that. Well, that's the end of...
Amber?
Okay. After that, we unlock some extras in the menu, showing us some unused assets and concept art. What's most interesting to me, however, is the Neverpedia, which gives us a description of the characters. And weirdly enough, they have information here that isn't in the actual game. Like that lizard woman is someone who lied her way to a high position in the world of chemical science. Candyman is apparently a popular and divisive figure in real life. You got things like the ages of the characters and what they've got going on. There's a lot of what would seem like pretty necessary information for the player to have for the purposes of story. But you won't find any of this stuff during any actual gameplay, no. You gotta read an in-game encyclopedia after you've beaten it. So now that we're done with the game, one thing that puzzles us is the whole appearance thing. They lay down at the beginning that appearances reflect how you see yourself. It's a weird rule because, first of all, I can't even tell what half of these characters are supposed to be. Like, what in the blue hell even is that? And maybe you could come up with some explanations for some of the characters. So you have this average looking guy, so he must see himself as a pretty normal person. But when I see something like a flying potato, what does that tell me about this character? This guy is an immobile cactus. What does that say about the way he views himself? This guy is a puppet. What's the deal with that? A basis is provided for how people look, yet the story doesn't do enough so that the player can make any sense of it. But what really gets me is this.
In Neverland, people's own opinions of themselves are shown to everyone else through their physical appearance. Say someone thought they were the most beautiful person in the whole wide world. In Neverland, they'd look super duper beautiful. It just sounds amazing, but that means that the beautiful person probably isn't that beautiful in real life, and they're actually a jerk about being more beautiful than they really are.
Throughout the entirety of the story, you never actually see this juxtaposition play out. So what's the point of even distinguishing that? Really, this whole appearance rule set is pointless. If people were just given their appearances at random, everything would turn out the exact same. You guys might think I'm looking into this stupid little rule a little too much, but might I remind you, they beat us over the head with this at the literal start of the game. When you do that, the implication is that it matters, that it's important, that it's going to play a part during the course of the story. We spent the whole game taking note of people's appearances and their personalities, and it didn't even matter. I don't know. Kind of a ripoff. And I wonder who or what determines who does and doesn't have to go to Neverland. You'd think we'd meet some drug addicts or war veterans with PTSD or something, but no. You've got 11-year-old girls who get sent there because they don't act with enough independence. And really, what, if anything, determines if a person needs help? But I feel like that's a pretty subjective thing. Whether someone does or doesn't have a problem that needs to be solved is a matter of opinion at the end of the day.
Ugh, look, Mac.
How do you keep getting in here?
The game's bad, but going off the voice acting and whatnot, it's pretty obvious that the people who made it are pretty young. Definitely not out of high school. They're not gonna know how to draw, or make music, code, or flesh out the lore of their world, or competently structure a storyline. Of course it's not gonna be good, and yet we've been here for what? 20 minutes nitpicking every little detail about the game? I mean, really? Really?
And you know, you do have a bit of a point. I would like you to leave, though, actually. As fun as it is to go off on stuff like this, crack jokes and make snarky observations and obvious criticisms about a game that everyone knows isn't gonna be that good, we here at Jedivision are not necessarily here to make fun of children and stomp on their dreams of making it in the gaming industry. In fact, what I will say about Neverland is that even though its quality is debatable, it has a certain charm that you just don't get with a lot of these games. It was obviously made by very young people who, despite their inexperience and lack of resources, still wanted to make something. And they came out with something that they could release into the world for people like me to play. And isn't that just in the spirit of creation? Making something regardless of the rules, regardless of what people might think. Say what you will, but it is a genuine attempt at creating something. And it is, in a way, quite admirable. Hell, it's more than most of us are gonna do, I guess. Well, according to this script here, I'd say we're done, ladies and gentlemen. Wait a second. This wasn't in the script before. What? There's another game? There's another game! No! 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 To be continued.
At a time when I can send a fax from an airplane, electric utilities still believe in guys jumping over backyard fences to read a meter. Why?